So let's start our new session. I think we have everyone. We have, okay, Darshan, I forgot to unmute you. Hi, Darshan.
Hi, Chetan. Thank you.
Hi. Okay, so we have Darshan, Deepti, Hari, Meena, Poonam, and Salia. Okay, so we have house full. Okay, so today we'll take a new topic, which is a very important topic. And I've been telling you, right? Agile is in itself, it's a different training. But since we are getting trained as a BA, you should know the agile concepts, not only the concepts, but also from the BA point of view.
Hello?
Yes?
Hello? I can't hear you, Chetan, anything.
Nobody can hear me?
When you started, it was clear, but then after, like, I think I lost your voice.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
able to hear you, Chetan.
Okay, except I think Darshan, anyone else having issues here listening to me?
Chetan, for only that short little while.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's okay.
Okay, so
Yeah, that's true.
okay. So what I was saying is today we'll take a new topic, which is agile, and within the agile we'll talk specifically the Scrum. Now, agile is a generic term, and within the agile you have different frameworks. Like Scrum is one of them, right? You have Scrum, you have feature driven development, you have extreme programming, you have Crystal. All these are different frameworks, different methodologies which are based on agile concepts. Within that we will take a deep dive into Scrum. That's where we will focus, because most of the jobs are in that area. Okay, you guys should be able to see my screen as well. Okay.
Yeah, Chetan, yeah. User stories for agile projects. Is
Yeah,
that the site?
that's true. Yeah. Okay. So here, basically, this is what the manifesto is for an agile software development. So manifesto is like a charter of the, like when a new company is formed, there is a charter, right? Basically, it's like the basic building block of any company is based on the charter. You know what a charter is?
This project charter?
Yeah. I mean, the concept is same. In the PM world, project management world, we call it a project charter. But even in good old days, when you form a company, or when a company is formed, there is a charter which is being formed in the first place. It's like you can call it as a basic foundation upon which the entire company is built. The principles, you can say the fundamental concepts or the building blocks on which that company will be built. So similar to that, we have the manifesto, which is basically telling you what should be the basic premise or basic principles of your SDLC model. So that's why it's called Manifesto for Agile Software Development. And there is a bit of history here. There was like 6-7 experts in the field of IT, software engineering. They basically came together and they went on some resort in Colorado, and they like brainstormed for a week that what is the best way to deliver a software, because up until then people were mainly doing waterfall, how we did step by step fashion. You first do your planning, then you do requirements, and then delivery, design, development, testing, and then you deliver the software. So these guys were like very brainy guys. They thought this is not the best way to deliver a software. So they basically met in a resort somewhere in Colorado, and this I'm talking like early 2000. They met and they said like, let's come up with the best way of delivering a software. So they brainstormed for a few days and finally they came up with this manifesto. So that's how this became very popular. It's also known as Agile Manifesto. If you Google it, probably the first link is the link you can go and read more about it. But the gist of that entire manifesto is captured on this slide. So it says that there are 4 different basic principles which should be considered when you are building any software. When you are trying to create a new system or application in the agile environment, these 4 principles are the most important principles you should be basically adopting in your SDLC. So the first one is individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So what it says is, in the agile, don't focus more on processes and very formal way of doing things. Keep it very simple, keep it flexible, and make it more collaborative and more interactive between people. So in the waterfall, generally we have a very stringent processes. Like for example, Darshan, you are following PMP, right? You'll be taking your PMP exam a couple of weeks from now. So like
Yes.
in PM, as part of the PMBOK, it has like I think 40 plus processes, right? More than that.
47%.
47 processes, and each process has a set of inputs, some
tool and techniques and output.
tools and techniques, and then outputs. And if you are following the PMBOK, you cannot deviate from what it says or what is prescribed in that PMBOK guideline.
Yes, that's true.
Right? They tell you that okay, this is what the process is, these should be the inputs, these are the tools and techniques you need to use, and then you have an output from that particular process. So it is very prescriptive and very rigid and very formal. You cannot change anything. You have to stick to that. So what these people are saying, as per the manifesto, they are saying that make your processes very flexible and very what you call adaptive to the environment. Don't make them so rigid or so fixed that you cannot change it. And let the interaction and collaboration take precedence over the processes and tools. So that's why in the agile, it's more about communication, collaboration between people than following a certain process. I'm not saying there is no process. There is a process, but the precedence is, or the more important piece is the communication between people, between the team members. The second element is working software over a comprehensive documentation. So this is a very important piece here. What this manifesto is saying is, don't try to write big documents, the FRDs and BRDs and use cases and things like that. Just do enough documentation so that team can understand what the requirements are, and based on that, you talk it out. Instead of writing the documents which nobody is going to see them after they are done, you discuss it amongst the team members, and based on the discussion, you build the system. And the working software is basically your real proof of concept, which the customer will basically see rather than documentation. So instead of showing the use case to review them or an FRD to review them, you are showing them the real system, which has much more value than sharing documents with them. Correct? So if I were to show you, you are my customer, if I were to show you like 10 use cases compared to I show you a real application, of course it may not be complete, it may have only few features, but I'm showing you a real application, real system. Which one will you prefer to see?
Application over use case.
Yeah, application, because that is what you are looking for. You are not going to sit with the use cases, because that's not the end goal. The end goal is to deliver a software. So on any given day, the customer will go for the real system, even though it has only 10% of features in it. They will go for the real system than for full set of documentation. Right. The third point is again, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So I'll give an example. So in the waterfall model, you basically lock down your phases. Do you recollect that?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Right.
sequentially placed, yeah.
You do in a very sequential way. So you do your planning,
Yes.
you lock it down. Then you do your requirements, you lock it down. Similarly, design, development, and testing, and then you give the system to your end user. So what is the case here is, let's suppose you are the customer and I am the PM of that project, and let's suppose Darshan is a BA. So we started working on it, and finally, after like 1 month of requirements phase, Darshan wrote all the documents. He did all the use cases and showed it to Poonam, who happens to be the customer. Now you sign it off, you approve the requirements, and now based on that approval, we baseline the documents, and from that point onwards, the design will take place, and then the development will begin. So let's assume that after like couple of weeks of signing the requirements, giving the approval, there is some new requirement which is really needed by the customer. Poonam really needs that set of requirement, and she comes to us and say, we have to add this new requirement because it's not there right now and we need it. So as a PM, what I will say is, we cannot add this new requirement now because we have locked down this phase. You approved the requirements, you gave your approval, there was a sign off ceremony there, you signed the documents. Now you cannot add any scope to it. If you want to add a scope, we have to go through a formal process, which can be done, but it cannot be just added based on, um, just minor discussion. It has to go through a process. So there will be, this is what the contract negotiation is. That, as a PM, I will basically negotiate with my customer, saying that because you locked down the phase and we approved the requirements, you approved the requirements. Now, if you want to add any new requirements, you have to go through a process which is called the change control process. As compared to in Agile, it is not like that. In Agile, the idea is to keep your scope very fluid, not to lock any phases. So if, for example, the same scenario we take, but instead of waterfall, we are doing an Agile. So what I will do as a PM, by the way, there is no role of a PM in Agile, but there is another role, what we call the Scrum Master. So what will happen is, the customer, when they come back and say, we have to add a new requirement, as a Scrum Master, I will basically talk to my customer and see where can we fit that new requirement, in which sprint or which iteration we can do it. I'm not saying we won't do it. We will do some impact analysis, and based on that, we will say, okay, we cannot do it in immediate sprint, but we can do it in next sprint, or maybe 2 sprints down the line. So it's more of a collaborative and communication that happens between the customer and the Scrum Master, and based on that, you work with your customers. I think somebody had a question. No?
Since in the Agile project, we don't have a project manager.
Yeah, in Agile, you don't have a PM. In Agile,
Okay.
Agile is a self-organized team. That means there is no, boss and subordinate relationship. Everybody is on the same level, and I'll talk more on that when I come there. So
Okay. Okay.
everybody is basically reporting to each other. There is no, boss and subordinate sort of relationship. That's why, since you are already very close to taking the PMP, that's okay. But next step would be to go for ACP.
Yeah. Sorry, which one?
The Agile Certified Practitioner,
Agile, yeah. ACP, yeah.
ACP. It's a very
Yes,
easy
yes, yes.
exam. Plus, it's in demand as more than PMP.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, they don't have any book for that.
No,
There
they
is
have a
no
book.
separate book
They have a book.
for the for PMBOK is sorry, project management is they are giving the book or
No, even PMI is only giving the book. They have a Agile book on that.
they have agile book. I don't
Yeah.
know about that. Okay, yeah, yeah. That will be my next goal.
Okay. Good.
And
Yeah.
can we do agile certification before PM certification?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so okay, all right. Because since you said next steps, I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you have to,
These are both different. See, PMP is based on
okay,
the waterfall, whereas
yeah, okay,
Agile, this ACP is based on Agile.
okay, yeah. Because didn't you say that agile is more
In
like
dem-
common use now?
yeah, it's more in demand.
Okay,
So I would put my money on Agile than any other certification.
okay,
Okay, and the last one is responding to change over a following a plan. So same thing here in the waterfall, you would basically follow a plan, right? In the waterfall, what you would do, the first thing you will do is the PM, right? The project management uh, phase. You will be doing your planning, you will be coming up with your schedule, your estimates, things like that. And once you lock down your schedule and your, all the different tasks you will be doing as part of the project, you will be following it basically. Whereas in the agile, you are basically not doing all that upfront. As and when you come to that level, you will do some planning and you will do some, estimates. You're not trying to do the planning and estimates for the entire project in that phase. You're doing it in piece by piece manner. It's also called as a rolling wave planning, right? You do some planning for next two iterations, and then again you do for next two as you come close to that point. So this is your basically the basic fundamentals of any agile SDLC model. Clear?
yes, Chetan.
So now let's go to this Scrum framework. So I told you, to go over that series of short videos we have. So we'll do the exact same thing here. So as I said, let's start with the roles we have in especially in Scrum. I'll now from this point onwards I'll only talk on Scrum. So in Scrum, there are basically three roles, right? One is your product owner, who is this guy. The second is your sprint team, and the third role is your Scrum master, right? These are the three basic roles on any given day in a Scrum team. So when you say product owner, who is a product owner?
Is it equivalent to the customer in the waterfall model?
Is he is going to control the overall project,
So product
or
owner,
say he can.
right? So product owner is your customer in nutshell, right?
Yeah.
He or she is basically somebody who has the entire understanding of what the problems are, what the issues are, and then what needs to be done from the business point of view. They are not concerned with the system point of view. All they are concerned is from the business point of view, what the issues are, problems they are facing, and what needs to be done. Right? And they can be the voice of the customer as well. So what I mean is maybe your customer who happens to be, you know, let's suppose a huge retailer, but they may appoint somebody who on their behalf will be giving the requirements. So product owner can also be somebody who is working on behalf of your real customers or your end customers. But irrespective of that, whether this guy is your customer or they are working on behalf of the customer, they must know in and out what are the issues are, the problems, the pain points, and what needs to be done in order to meet the goal of the project. Okay. Have you heard this term project champion?
Yeah, I heard it when I was in Ericsson. Yeah, they have some project champions.
Right.
I heard that one.
So project champion, this guy is similar to the project champion. See, project champion is, as the word says, champion, right? So champion means he or she must understand each and everything in and out. They cannot say, I don't know. So somebody who has a very good grip on the problems, on the goals of the project, and they know what needs to be done, they should be playing the role of a product owner. Okay.
Is it similar to PM, project manager, Chetan?
No, PM is the Scrum Master is similar to PM. So this guy
Okay.
is your, think about that, as your SMEs. SME
Okay.
is similar to your product owner.
Okay.
Right.
But Chetan, when I was going through that same thing that you had sent, over there they kind of said the Scrum Master has little or no authority,
Yes,
unlike the PM,
correct.
because he's just like a coordinator kind of a person here in this particular setup. Yeah.
Correct. That's why I said that in Agile you don't have a PM role.
Right.
You just have a Scrum Master who is there to help the team. He or she cannot tell, okay, do this or do that. They cannot supervise or they cannot boss around like the PMs would do. Here, the goal is to make sure that things are moving and there are no impediments and there are no obstructions. If there are any impediments or problems or obstacles, then the Scrum Master will come in and resolve them. But going back to the product owner, again, the product owner is somebody who is similar to your SME, right? Who understand the issues, the problems, the pain points, and what needs to be done in order to solve them. Now, product owner is typically one person, but it may be possible that you have like a group of people who are playing the role of the product owner. Generally, I've never seen like more than two people who are the product owners. Generally, one is best, but sometimes one person may not have the entire knowledge, so they may assign two people who will be playing the role of a product owner. Now, you might question, where is the BA here? So BA is also part of the sprint or the Scrum team. I'll call the sprint team, that's it's a sprint team because they will be working on a sprint. Another word for sprint is iterations. So it's the same thing, sprint or iteration, it's the same meaning. So the BA fits in this team, the sprint team. Now who can tell me who all are in the sprint team?
All the
Developers,
people who were
testers,
there, yeah, in the implementation.
developers.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Developers and testers.
Solution architect, everybody who were there as in the implementation team, exactly like that over here.
Exactly, yes. So you will have your solution architect, you will have your developers, your business analyst, your testers, quality assurance, and if you have a technical writer, they also will be part of it. Right? Now, focusing on the BA, what is the role of a BA here?
Is taking part in the iteration process for each and every iteration, means uh, requirement gathering and requirement transformation.
Yeah. Okay.
Sprint planning person.
Sorry?
Plan the sprint.
Okay.
He takes care of planning the sprint
Mm-hmm.
or organizing the Scrum meeting.
Okay, that's also part of it. But the most important part of for a BA, or the most important role the BA will perform in this kind of environment is to work with the product owner, right, on a one-to-one basis and groom the product backlog. Oops, sorry. So let me now, because I introduced one more new term, what is a product backlog here? You might think you know what this new term is. So product backlog is nothing but it's a list of requirements which are dumped in one place and which can be prioritized by the product owner. Right? So think about that. It's like a virtual, or you know, if I give you a big cardboard box, and if I tell you, okay, you know, let me enter all my requirements in. I write all my requirements and put that in on a piece of paper, and I put that all like 50 requirements or 50, you know, separate chits in that box. So that cardboard box is my backlog, the product backlog, where I have all my 50 requirements, and the product owner will be basically telling me which ones are important and we should do them first and which ones are not that important, which we can do it in the next iteration, not sprint. Somebody can mute themselves, please. Thank you. So the product backlog is nothing but a virtual placeholder of all the requirements which are required by the team, or sorry, which are required by the project or by your product owner. Right. So in this example, we have 8 different, rows. Each row is depicting one requirement. So here we have 8 requirements. Out of that, they are listed in the way the product owner wants them to be developed. So the most important will be on the top, and as we go down, you will have less important requirements. So again, going back to the question, or rather the answer, the role of a BA, business analyst, is to work with the product owner and keep grooming the product backlog. This is a continuous process. It doesn't stop until the project is done. So every week, maybe Monday, you are working with the product owner and you are grooming the product backlog. That means you are doing the requirements with them. It's just a fancy word, like how we used to do the requirements workshop, right? I told you, right? There is a way you can do the requirements. One technique is conduct a requirements workshop. So in the Agile, we don't call it requirements workshop. We call it product backlog grooming meetings. So you'll be meeting with your SME, or in this case your product owner, every week or every twice a week to groom the product backlog. That means to understand the requirements, to discuss the requirements, elicit the requirements from your product owner. Clear?
Yes, Chetan.
And there is a different way of doing the requirements in Agile. We don't talk about the use cases, we don't talk about FRDs or BRDs, we talk about a user story. Okay? So assuming, I'm a business analyst, I work with the product owner, maybe after 1 month of product backlog grooming sessions I had with the product owner, I have like, list of requirements in my backlog, which can be picked by the sprint team to start developing them, because the requirements are done in this phase, right? So the moment we have the requirements, completed, in the sense, when I say complete, it doesn't mean I'm done with all the requirements. My requirements are constantly coming, but I may be done with, like, let's suppose 10 stories. I have 10 user stories ready for development. Maybe the remaining 50 are still not complete. So the sprint team, what they will do is they will take a look at the first couple of stories and they will do what we call the sprint planning session, because now they need to develop it, right? The solution architect has to design the system, the developers have to code it, and the testers have to test it. So before they can do that and start working in the sprint, they will say, okay, let me take a look at these stories and see how much effort it will take for us to do it. So that is being done in the sprint planning meeting. Before you actually begin your sprint, that means you begin your design, development, testing work here, you will have a different second phase where you will do the sprint planning meeting, where the team will pick certain stories, and again the role of a BA is to explain what those stories are, what are the requirements, and based on that the sprint team will do an estimates. The team here, they will say, okay, each story will take me X amount of time to do it. The reason why they want to do it is because they don't want to take work more than what they can handle. So I'll give an example.
Estimation means work breakdown structure means how many hours they can do, or
Estimation means, okay, that's what I'll give an example here. So let's suppose the sprint can be, okay, different teams can follow different sprints. What is a sprint?
it's a group of the people, right? With the developer, tester.
No, that's a sprint team I'm talking. I'm asking you, what is a sprint?
It's a
Just an iteration, right?
yeah, but then it is measured in the time frame. Like one process will take these many much time, to complete one task.
Okay, so see, sprint is nothing but a time boxed delivery method, right? It's a time boxed. So either you can say my sprint is for 1 week. That means I start on Monday and by Friday I'm done with the sprint. That means Monday I begin my development testing, and by Friday I should be completed. I should be done. I can have 2 week sprint, I can have 3 weeks, I can have 4 week sprint, but I cannot have more than 4 weeks. The maximum you can have 4 weeks, the minimum you can have 1 week sprint. In between that you can pick any what you want. Okay. So I'll give an example. Let me open this. Maybe that will be easy to understand. So let's suppose we have 5 days in a week, correct? Right? 5 working days in a week. So assuming we have 2 people on a team, just hypothetical example, we have 2 people. Now I show them this backlog. These 2 people are looking at the backlog and they pick 2 stories. They will say, okay, let's take a look at the first 2 because they are most important, and let's see how much effort it has so that we can take the work. So each one will say, okay, this story will take me, um, let's suppose this guy is saying 60 hours and this guy is telling us 40 hours, right? So total we have 100 hours, correct? They pick 2 stories from the backlog and they are doing an estimate saying, okay, this is what it will take, combined effort, it will take 100 hours to do this. Maybe this guy is new, B is new guy, A is very experienced, or rather vice versa, sorry. A is a new guy, B is experienced guy, that's why he's taking less hours. But total they need 100 hours to do those 2 stories. Now how much can you get in one day? You cannot get more than 8 hours, right? I would basically say 6 hours. In real world, you cannot work 8 hours, right? So I got 30 and 30 here. So I got 60 hours total. See, you see what I'm doing here?
Estimating how
Yes.
much time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
How it, yeah, taking an estimate.
So if we have these two people, A and B, and if we tell them, okay, pick 2 stories from the backlog, they take the 2 stories, and now they have to do an estimate before they can decide whether they can handle it in one sprint or not. Correct? You don't want to overcommit. That means you don't want to say that, I will be able to do it, and later you realize, okay, we cannot do it. You don't want to be in that situation. So that's why you need to do a sprint planning meeting so that the team can only take that much of work which can be done in one sprint. So in this example, assuming we have a 1 week sprint, that means Monday we start the work and Friday you should be done. So in this case, there is no way we can do it because maximum we get 60 hours of work, whereas we need 100 hours to do this. Correct? So then we will say, okay, we cannot do 2, let's do only 1. So maybe this may drop from 60 to 20 and this may come back to 10. Oops. Right? So now we need 30 hours only. Whereas we have 60 hours in a week. Right? This is just an example, but in real world you would do a little bit different, but I'm just trying to give you the concept, what is the rationale behind doing this sprint planning meeting. So this is much better than the previous scenario, because previous scenario you would have been in fix because you accepted more work than you could have delivered. In this case, you are taking less work, but at least you know that you will be able to do it. right? So the team will basically reach out to the BA and say, okay, take a look at the backlog and pick the stories which are ready to be, they can be initiated. They are ready for development. They will pick those stories and start working on it. Basically do the sprint planning, and once the sprint planning meeting is done, that's when the real sprint will begin, right? So whatever is the work you commit as part of the sprint is known as your sprint backlog. So if in this case, let's suppose we committed only one story. So one story is my sprint backlog. I may have 50 in my product backlog, but for that sprint, I'm only concerned with one story. In real world, of course, you don't do just one story. You will have at least 4 or 5 stories. But this example, I'm just telling you that the scope of that sprint will be only for one story. Clear?
So Chetan, just to reiterate, just so that I can, so the product owner fills up that product backlog with the must-haves and the wants, right? In the order of priority. And then the BA interacts with him, and then he refines that product backlog list so that he can pass on the most important requirements to the his team, which is the sprint, which happens during the sprint planning meeting, right?
Yes.
And during that meeting, that's when they the other members of the team estimate how much effort they're going to put in, and what additional resources they might need, and then based on that, they pick and choose the best ones that they can deliver in the sprint backlog or the task breakout session. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
One thing here is the sprint team cannot basically just pick the stories from the backlog. It has to be done based on the priorities set by the product owner. That's very important. My sprint team cannot say, okay, these are the easy ones. Let me do 6, 7, 8. No, because the product owner, they basically put the priorities in this way. Top 1, 2, 3 are most important. And as you go down the list, it becomes less important. So the sprint team has to make sure that they pick the stories which add a value to your, or gives a value to your product owner. If let's suppose in this case, if I say, okay, the sprint team decides and they pick 6, 7, 8 and they start working on it, the product owner is not going to be happy because it was never a part of their priorities. It was always at the bottom of the list. The most important were 1, 2, 3 and then 4, 5, 6 and then 7, 8. So the sprint team will only pick the work which is set by the product owner, where the priorities are set by the product owner. Now, if they think that they cannot do it, let's suppose the first 3 stories, the sprint team thinks that it's way beyond our capacity. We cannot do it in 1 week. So then the team can negotiate with the product owner and say, we cannot do these 3 stories in 1 iteration. So let's break it down. We will do the first 2 and then we will do the next one in the next iteration. That will be acceptable for both the parties, because here the sprint team will be able to commit and they will be able to deliver in 1 week those 2 stories. At the same time, the product owner will be getting all 3 stories but in 2 iterations. So both the parties are happy in that case. Is that clear? So from this point onwards, once the team commits the work and it gets added to the sprint backlog, from that point onwards you cannot change the scope of that sprint. What you committed must be delivered. That's why this session is very important. If you miss this or if you don't estimate it well, you are going to have issues in your sprint. Either it will be, you have over, you know, committed. That means you have accepted more work than you can handle, or you have accepted less work than you can handle. Both are not good. You should basically optimize your sprint team's capacity and deliver exactly what you can, handle. Neither too much nor too less. Right. So once the stories are added to the backlog, the sprint will basically kick off. That means every day the team comes in, they do the design, they do development, they do the testing, and every day they start working on it. They build on the every day's work they do. So in this example, we are taking 1 week sprint. So Monday the team starts, they work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So by Friday evening, the sprint is completed. That means Monday what you started is done by Friday evening. So if you pick 2 stories, by Friday evening the system should support those 2 stories. If you show the system to your product owner, they should be able to see those 2 stories supported by the system. So let's suppose the top 2 stories were, the first one was create an account and log in. So by Friday evening, your product owner should be able to go and create an account, and they should be able to log in. Of course, they cannot do anything beyond that, but at least these 2 stories are complete and the system is supporting them. Right? Are you guys clear?
Yeah, Chetan.
Yes.
Yes, Chetan.
Okay. So different teams will have different sprints or sprint cycle. As I said, you can have minimum 1 week or max 4 weeks. You can pick any range in between. But generally it has to be like, either 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks. In my project, we have 3-week cycle or sprint. And in certain different projects, I've seen like 4 weeks. I've also worked on a sprint which was like 4 week long. There is basically no right or wrong, answer here. You can pick based on what your team needs. So the role of a BA, again, when the sprint is initiated, is to support the sprint team. A very important question for an interview. What is the role of a BA in the sprint? Right? Generally, typically saying the sprint is where you are writing the code and testing it. That's all you do. There is no real requirement session being done as part of the sprint. All the requirements are being done here in the product backlog. So one may think, the role of a BA is negligible, or rather there is no role of a BA when you have a sprint going on. But that's exactly opposite to what people think. Role of a BA is more of a supportive role, because this team may have a lot of questions surrounding the requirements. So BA has to give a supporting, or rather a support here. They have to give a support in terms of requirement support, field any questions that sprint team has. If they find any gaps, which is always possible, they have to go and fill those gaps. Let's suppose somebody missed the scenarios. The BA missed capturing the scenario. In that case, somebody from the development team pointed out, hey, we don't have that scenario. So the BA will be reaching out to the product owner and discuss that scenario with them and reach out, fill the gap, and again go back and explain it to the sprint team. This is what the gap is, and that's what we will do. So the role of a BA is not just here to groom the product backlog, but also in the sprint planning meeting to help the team understand the requirements, and here to help the team develop and complete the requirements, test the requirements. Sometimes as a BA, I'm also told to test the requirements. So I also do the testing here. Okay.
Yeah, Chetan.
So the BA doesn't actually go back and work with the product owner while the team is working on the first 3 priorities.
No, BA is actually working with the product owner on a continuous basis to groom the product backlog. But that doesn't mean, you will be 100% working on it. Maybe once a week you are working with your product owner, groom the backlog, and the remaining 4 days you are, helping your sprint team in doing the sprint. And again, the requirements, what you do in your product backlog, they may be very raw. You don't have the complete, you've not done the analysis part. You have just done some requirements gathering. So the next step would be, you still have to do some analysis. You still have to document them in a different set of, in a different format. So you still have to do a lot of work besides just working with the product owner. So is that clear, Hari?
Yes, Chetan.
So now what happens every day? The sprint is being conducted. The sprint is in flight. So here what will happen is we have a ceremonies. In Agile, we use all the fancy words. One ceremony is your sprint planning meeting. In fact, from here itself, your product backlog grooming is one ceremony. That means one event. You can think of it. The second event is your sprint planning meeting, where the team will be picking the work from the backlog and understand the complexity of it and how much it will take to do those user stories. The third ceremony is your daily stand-up meeting, or it's also known as daily Scrum meetings. So what will happen is every day the team will basically, come in, and meet for like 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, generally in a hallway or coffee room or somewhere. It's not a very formal meeting. It's a very informal meeting. So, but the idea is to bring the entire team in one place and tell them 3 things: what they did yesterday, right? What they will be doing it today, and what are the issues or the impediments they are facing. And everybody is reporting to the team. It's not a PM and the subordinate kind of thing. So even if I'm a lead BA in my team, I'll be reporting it to the entire team, what I did yesterday, what I will be doing today, and what are the issues we are facing. Same thing, even if the senior most solution architect is part of the team, he or she will be doing the exactly same thing. So there is no boss and subordinate relationship here. You're not reporting it to one person, you're reporting it to the entire team. And since everybody is doing it to the entire team, there is no boss and subordinate relationship here. Okay. So the daily Scrum meeting is 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. You answer 3 things: what you did yesterday, what you will be doing today. That means what you are planning to do today, and any impediments or issues you are facing. And generally they are done in the morning because people are fresh, like 9:30, 10, 9:30 or 10ish, so that we can be done with the meeting and people can focus on their work. That's what your daily stand-up meeting is. So now let's talk about the Scrum Master. Now, Scrum Master is a role played by somebody from the team itself. Generally, you don't have a specific Scrum Master because the role of a Scrum Master is based, as I said, it's more of a facilitator, and he or she must ensure that the team is working without any issues, or they have all the tools and techniques they need to conduct their work. Right? If there is any issue or conflicts, whether it's a people conflict or whether it's a technical issue, the Scrum Master will be responsible to solve them. But they won't be active unless and until these things happen. Right? And Scrum Master is not the person who will be responsible for the success or the failure of the project. It is the entire team who will be sharing that responsibility. Unlike the waterfall model where the PM would be basically nailed down. If the project gets into issues or it's a failure, the project manager will be kicked out, right? He or she will be losing the job. That's the first person who loses the job. In this case, because the Scrum Master is not the whole and soul of the team, and neither he or she is the PM of the team, the entire responsibility of the project success or um, growth is on the entire team, not just one person. So for some reason, if the project goes into any rough phase, or if the project is a failure, it's not only the Scrum Master who takes the share or take the brunt of it, it's the entire team. If it's a project is successful, still the entire team will take the onus on themselves or responsibility. The credit goes to the entire team, not just the PM. Generally, in the waterfall, if the project is a big success, the PM will be recognized, right? Even though the team did a great job, the PM will be the first person who will be recognized in the team. But in Agile, you don't want to differentiate between the PM and the subordinates. Everybody is one team. And generally, practically, I've seen like Scrum Master is being played by either the lead BA, like in my project, I do the Scrum Master role, or it can also be solution architect or a senior developer. Anybody can play the Scrum Master. So is that clear?
Yeah, Chetan.
Now we'll take a look at the burn up and burn down charts tomorrow. But for today, I'll just give a overview of what exactly they are. See, burn down chart is a way to see where you are on the project. How much work is still remaining. That's pretty much what you get from the burn down or burn up charts. It's the same. Burn down is basically showing you how many hours are burned. That means how many hours are left rather. And the burn up charts is showing you how many hours you have exhausted. So this is your burn down chart. It's coming down. Whereas this is your burn up chart. And we'll do some examples, so don't worry about it. But this is the way you track your project's health. How much work is remaining, how much work is done. That's exactly what you do or infer from your burn down or burn up charts. Okay. Any questions?
I'm good, Chetan. Thank you.
Means most of the company are focusing on the agile right now, right?
That's true. Yeah. It's not that
Because
the PM role is not there. It's just that the agile is more popular these days, and still I've seen like even PM get hired for agile projects. So it's not that they don't get.
yes, yes. Yeah, means like according to this session, like means agile is more far better than other project management means.
Yeah. See, the biggest advantage here is you are getting the review or the product or the system you are
Yes,
building. You are getting the feedback immediately from your customer,
customer. Yes,
right? At the end of, you see here. Okay, let me come here. See, the sprint review is another ceremony which is very important. So what will happen in this ceremony when you are done with your sprint? Let's suppose you have a 2 week sprint now instead of 1 week. So at the end of the second week, you will show your system to your product owner and tell them to review. Hey, can you please check the system and tell me, give me the feedback. So instead of
yes,
showing
yes,
them the documentation and the use cases, FRD, BRD, you are showing them the real system now.
yes, yes, yes.
And that exact feedback, you are getting it in real time, and that is so valuable because your customer is seeing or product owner is seeing the system, and they're telling you, okay, this is good, this is not good, please fix this and make the changes. So you're getting the feedback immediately at the end of second week.
Yes,
If
yes.
the same thing was being done using a waterfall, you would have got the feedback maybe in the 8th or 9th month. Once everything is designed, developed, and tested, that's when you will give it to the customer to test it. And it may be too late for you to make those changes because everything is completed. Here you are just doing it in bits and pieces, in a small chunks. That's why it's much easy to make those changes.
Oh, okay. Okay. And one thing, like who is responsible with for the cost? Means cost is also there, right?
Yeah, cost is
Because
with. Mhm. Yeah, that's a
if
good
there will
question.
be a continuous iteration and the requirement is going to be a change each and every meeting, then the cost is going to be higher day by day, right?
That's
Or
true. See, here what we do is we do some basic guesstimate. There is no basic, like, hard numbers here. We just tell them, okay, in order to do this project, we will need 20 iterations or 20 sprints. Hello?
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Chetan, we can hear you.
Okay. So let's suppose in the beginning of the project, the team will sit down and say, okay, we will need, in order to do this project, we will need, like, let's suppose 24 sprints. Okay. Now each sprint is 3 weeks. Oh, sorry. What was I saying? 24 sprints, right? As I said, right?
yeah, yes.
Okay. So 24, your question was about the estimate, right, Darshan?
Cost estimate means
Cost estimate.
how can we?
Okay, I got, okay. So let's suppose in the beginning of the project, I say that, one sprint will be 3 weeks. Okay.
Yeah,
And I'm saying that, okay, it will take me roughly, I would say, uh, 6 sprints to do this project, right? So 1 week we need
Chetan,
3 weeks. So 18 weeks we'll need to complete this project, correct?
Yeah.
Agree?
Yes, you are right.
Now what will happen is the team there, of course, as I said, there is some team, the governance team will be there who will be doing this. So they will be sitting down with some rough estimates saying, okay, how much it will cost to do this project in 18 weeks. How many people do we need? How much of, what are the tools we will need for this project? So everything will be added to the cost of the project based on that estimate. It's not a hard number. It's just a estimate there. So anything beyond this will of course impact the scope, not the scope, but the cost of the project, as you said. And in Agile, of course, the cost is important, but you don't limit yourself or you don't lock down any of these things. Okay, if it takes plus minus $20,000 to do this, you know, you can talk to your customer and get an approval and do it. If they say no, then don't do it. Right? It all depends on what your customer needs. If your customer tells you, okay, I need this feature at any cost, you can say, okay, in order to do this, we will have to do 2 more sprints, and that will cost us X amount of hours, dollars. So would you like us to do it? If they say yes, then do it. Otherwise, don't do it.
Okay. And the product owner is going to be take care of the cost section or what?
No, product owner is not responsible for the cost. He or she is
Okay.
only responsible for the requirements.
Then the cost will be handled
By somebody else, there will be different stakeholders.
okay.
The project sponsors will
Oh,
be there.
okay. Got it.
Right?
Chetan,
Yeah.
This SDLC, specifically the team basically is a small team, like from 4 to 9, maybe an average of 7 people in a team.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so can this model handle really huge projects?
Yes.
Or if there is, yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I got your question. What you're saying. So what if the team, if the project is so huge, can you do with 7 people? Can you do
Exactly.
it with 7 people?
No, so my following question was, so is there like a team 1, team 2, uh,
Yeah.
working on simultaneously, different projects? But then that would mean those many number of product owners,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
then the coordination. So is that how the system works?
Yes, that's exactly what you said. So what will happen is, there is a term which we call the Scrum of Scrums.
Okay.
That means you have multiple Scrums or teams working on the project. So for example, here, so I may have, let's suppose, a big project. Let's suppose we are working on a big project. So I may have sprint team B. So I have 4 different teams, the sprint team working on the same project, but we have 4 different sprint teams. Each one will have its own, what you call, product owner
Product
can be
owner.
same. They can be same or they can be different,
Scrum Master. Okay.
right?
Okay.
Scrum Master,
Yeah.
BA, Solution Architect, Developer, Tester. So each one will have its own set of people.
Right.
So that's called Scrum of Scrums, right? You have multiple Scrum teams. That's why it's known as Scrum of Scrum.
Okay. But now suppose if we are removing the main process of a change,
Mm-hmm.
because here it's iteration based, so every time there is a thing needed, it is implemented and added, and again the process is followed. Over here, there is nothing like a conflict situation. Then, if there are four teams doing work on different components, and when there is one particular product
Mm-hmm.
which is not coming out to expectations, so then
Integration.
sorry,
Yeah.
to the
Yeah, means
requirement.
integration.
Yeah, yeah. So how is the change, like there is no change control board here, right? Like there is no integrated change control here. So how do the team, I mean, how do they work then? Like what is the process of a change over here?
Okay. See
I'm,
what will.
I'm, I'm saying not between the team members, but inter-team.
Yeah. So what will happen is these teams will not be working in silos, first of all, right? Sprint team A, B, C, D, they all will be working together, even though they are small teams, but they are part of one family. Think about that. So they may be working on different components of the system, but at the end of the day, they are one team. So there has to be a collaboration. The first fundamental, right here, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So that's exactly what I meant. These teams will be talking to each other on a day-to-day basis and make sure that there are no conflicts or no, duplicate work or nothing which basically will impact the quality of the product. So they will be talking every day. Maybe, what we do, we have two teams. We don't have four teams right now, but we have two teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Each team has its own BA, has its own, solution architect, developers and testers. So what they do is they coordinate every day amongst themselves to make sure that there is no gap or they are not stepping into each other's shoes and there are no conflicts. It's not a huge meeting, 15-minute meeting. They will talk
Yes.
it out and see, if there are any conflicts, they'll resolve it. Or it can also happen that one team needs support from the other team. So in that case, the team will say, okay, let's do it. If you need something to be done from our end, we will do it and then let you know. So it's more of a collaboration.
Okay.
So you got the meaning of the sprint review, what it means.
Yeah.
So if I ask Saliya, what is a sprint review meeting?
Okay, so sprint review meeting is when they review what they got done during that sprint time.
Mm-hmm.
All different sprint meeting, different group teams get together and they update each other on what they got done and how it went.
Okay, you answered it partly right. The sprint review sprint review meeting is mainly for the product owner. So what will happen at the end of the sprint? You show the real system to your product owner and ask the feedback. Okay, is this exactly what you want? If yes,
Okay.
it's good. If not, then what exactly are the changes? Please tell us and we'll fix it.
So basically, the product owner is part of all the meetings in this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Right. So as I said, let's suppose the first two features or the first two stories we picked were creating a profile. Customer is able to create the profile and they are able to log in using their ID and password. So maybe at the end of the sprint, you will only show these two features because you only developed these two stories. So the sprint review meeting, you will invite the customer or the product owner and say that, okay, you can go ahead and use the system. So the product owner may start creating a profile and then they may also log in using their ID and password. But that's all they can do because that's all we did. Correct? And it is also known as a very important term MPV. What is
PD?
MPV? MPV. It's known as, it's basically what it means is the basic features you can deliver to your customer. Minimum viable product. Sorry, MVP, it should be. Minimum viable product. That means this is the minimum with the minimum features, but they are working. It's not a fully functional system. It doesn't have all the features, but whatever features we have, they are fully functional. MVP.
So, Chetan, you said features. Minimum viable features or product?
Product.
Okay, okay.
MVP. Okay. So the definition or the meaning of a MVP is that we are giving you two features, but they are working. They are 100% working.
Hello?
Okay.
So, Chetan, if the sprint time is like a 2 week, so this sprint review will happen only at the end of the second week.
Exactly.
Is that so?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and if there will be a changes, then how much there will be a one more time period, like 1 week or 2 week, they have to do another sprint review meeting?
No, every sprint will have its own review meeting, but let's suppose in this case you did 1 week sprint at the end of the first, or let's suppose 2 weeks, right? At the end of the second week, your product owner starts playing with the system and tells them, like the login and ID, I need some changes. Right now we don't show them the reset password link.
Yes.
They tell the, we need that as well. So you will say, okay, let's take the requirements and put them in the backlog, right? And whenever we get to the point, we'll do it.
Okay. It will go to the product backlog, right?
Yeah, any new requirement will go to the backlog by default.
Okay, means all the product backlog is our requirement
Repository. Yeah.
repository. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And the last ceremony is your sprint retrospective. So similar to what, Darshan, you might have learned about this lessons learned, right, in the PMBOK.
Yes, lesson learned. Each and means it's the output. While closing the project, we have lesson learned.
What is it? Can you explain?
Lesson learned means like if I am successfully completed the project, then whatever estimation I have done, what are the resources I have taken, like some resources have a training, and all the kind of stuff should be there in the lesson learned. Means if the project is not successful, then what are the reason for not having successful project? Then what are the problem we are getting during the executing of the process while requirements are not clear, or couple of requirement are missing, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so as you said, whether the project is a success or a failure,
Yes.
you need to do the lessons learned at the end of the project. Before you close the project, you have to conduct the lessons learned meeting.
Yes.
Right? Where you invite all the team members and discuss what went well so that you can repeat it, what did not go well so that you don't repeat it again, right? And learn the best practices and you can share it with the other teams.
Yes.
Exactly the same concept is here. Only difference is the sprint retrospective is done at the end of each sprint. So you don't wait until the end of the project. At the end of each sprint, you will do this meeting. Here we don't call it lessons learned, we call it sprint retrospective. But the concept is same, exactly same. What went well in the sprint so that you can repeat it in the next sprints? what did not go so well in that sprint, so that you want to avoid those things, you don't do it again in future, and you capture the best practices and share it with the team. That's what you do. So if you have 2 week sprint, at the end of every second week, you will do these two meetings, your sprint review meeting and your sprint retrospective meetings. Clear?
Yes.
Any questions?
Okay, then.
Meena, are you good?
I'm good, Chetan. Thank you.
Okay, so now you should be at least very clear with the Scrum framework. What is a Scrum? What are the different roles you have? What are the different ceremonies you have? What is the role of a BA in that? Are you guys clear with that?
Yes.
I am Chetan, yes.
Yes, Chetan.
Okay. And it won't harm you if even if you go again and again, do those videos, the animated videos. Every 2 days, just do it. You want to reinforce those concepts in you to the maximum possible extent. Okay. So what I will do is tomorrow we have to okay, we will cover the user stories, how to write them, and then we will use a tool called Jira, and we'll see how we can use the tool to do our work in Agile. Jira is a very simple tool, and I will send you a small, it's a user guide where you can how to create your project using, your ID and password. So not today, don't do it today because they just give you like 6 days to play with the tool. So maybe we can do it tomorrow night. Once we are done with this session, tomorrow night you can create your profile, or maybe Wednesday morning, so that you get full 5 days to play with it. Okay.
Tomorrow, what we are going to do?
Tomorrow we'll learn how to write the user stories and how to write an acceptance criteria for the user stories.
Okay. Okay.
Because in Agile you don't write use cases, you don't write FRDs and BRDs. You start with a simple requirements which is called a user stories. Very simple way of writing the requirements.
Chetan, I have a question. What's the difference between Agile and Scrum? Are they the same thing?
No, Agile is like, I can say, let me give an example. I say car, right? Now car can be Honda, can be Toyota, can be BMW, Mercedes. So that's what Agile is, like a car. And all these different are like Scrum and FDDs, Crystal, Extreme. So Agile is a very generic term. You see what I'm meaning? What I meant?
So Agile is just stands for the style of
Any
for
yeah
transportation, for instance.
yeah any framework or any SDLC which basically promotes this kind of iterative and
Yeah.
incremental approach
Okay.
is your Agile,
Okay.
right? It's a generic term of saying
So
come up.
Scrum is called Scrum because it has a Scrum Master. Is that?
Yeah, Scrum is basically its own framework. Similarly, if you talk about the Crystal, has its own set of doing things, its own way of doing things. Um, Extreme programming has its own way of doing things. Feature driven development has its own way of doing things, right? So there are different agile models. Scrum is one of them.
Oh, okay. So but we'll be only learning Scrum.
Yeah, because that's what people are using these days.
Okay. Okay.
Right. And unfortunately, in many of these, like XP, extreme programming is also known as XP, X as an alphabet X and P. So there is no role of any other person. There is no PM, there is no tester, there is no BA, nothing, only the developer. So they will basically write the code, they will test the code, and they will show it to the customer. It's like doing a ad hoc development, right? You don't care about any of the processes, any of the requirements or testing. You just code it, show it to your customer, and fix it, and again show it. That's how you do your project. But these are not being used. Only the Scrum is the one which is widely popular these days, and we'll focus. That's why we'll focus only on that. Okay. But to answer your question, agile is a generic term, whereas
Yeah, I got it. When you gave the example of like just developer one, it made sense because I think that's what me and one of my friends is doing because she's making a website for a school we're working on, and so we are like fixing it as we go. It's just me and her. I'm just the tester person for her.
Okay, nice.
So yeah, so basically we are just like fixing things as we go, pretty much.
Yeah.
We see errors. But we're working together. That's not like
right.
plan.
It's also known as like a pair programming. In XP, there is a term called pair programming. So what they do is, there are two developers who are working together, and one person will be coding and the other person will be testing, those kind of things. So we can go over the other agile models, but that's not going to add any value. That's why.
I mean, if Scrum is the only thing we use, I mean, I don't want to overload myself with information that I'm not even remember.
Exactly. Yeah. So we don't want to.
Yeah, no, Scrum's fine. I just wasn't sure because it said Scrum training videos and we were so I was just confused.
Okay. Okay. Everybody clear with the Scrum framework and the different ceremonies we had? We talked about what the role of a BA is in grooming the product backlog in the sprint planning meetings.
Yes, Chetan.
Clear? I would recommend you, again after 2 days, go over the video because they are very easy and very, informative. So it won't harm you if you do that. It will only add some value to it. So do it as and when you get time. Okay. So this week, most likely this week we should be done with the training. So next week we'll focus on the interviews, and I'm leaving on 14th, and I'll be back on 10th. Okay.
Okay. And Chetan, one thing before we are going to finish, what is this Scrum Alliance?
Scrum Alliance is like an institute which is basically all into advancing or promoting the Scrum framework. And they issue the certifications like, there are different types of certification they issue. One of the most easy and most popular is the Scrum Master.
It's easy.
It's a damn easy certification. You cannot fail it. So they issue that certification, Scrum Master, and a lot of other certifications are there, like product owner and estimation. Yeah, there are a lot of So you can do it once you get some experience.
Yes, that's true. But I'm just taking an overview. Means like it is a certified body like a PMI, or it's
it's same like PMI or IIBA, all of these.
Okay, because they have lots of courses, that's why.
Yeah, it's one of the most popular. It's like a PMI in Agile, you can say.
Yes,
Very
that's
popular.
true because because couple of my friends who is in Ericsson, they
Mm-hmm.
are doing this Scrum Alliance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why I just asked you because one guy already certified for the uh, uh, a Scrum Master.
Scrum Master. It's a joke certification, you can say. You
Okay.
cannot.
Then
That's why I'm saying is you cannot fail it basically.
means he doesn't do anything big then.
I mean, it's always good to have certification, but the point is, it's not that difficult certification. You can easily get it.
Okay,
If you know this
That's,
basic concepts, you can
okay,
crack the exam.
okay. But it will add a value to a resume or job.
It won't harm you basically. That's what I can say. It won't add any real value to it, but it won't basically harm you. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Certification is a big industry, right? In US and all
Yeah,
over
big
the
industry.
world.
Yes,
So they will
yes.
create one certification for even how to talk.
Yeah, it possible. Yeah.
So that's kind of, you have to pick the right certifications.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
project.
yeah.
Yes, that's true. Okay, and one thing like for Agile, if you have a time, just send me the book name if you have
Yeah, sure, I will
copy
do
and
that. I don't have the soft copy. I can send you the name of the book. I have a physical
yeah,
copy.
yes, I just need the name of the books.
Okay. And I can send you some soft copies of, um, like an agile extension from Bebok. Like,
Okay,
because I'm a certified BA from IIBA, so they keep sending me all
okay,
the new versions and all that. So I have
okay,
a, agile extension, which is similar to what we are doing here. So you can use
okay.
that as well.
Okay, no problem. That's fine because like after PMP like I'm planning for the Agile next year or later on.
Okay, good. Excellent.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay then. Any questions before
Okay.
we drop off?
Chetan, I'd like to touch base with you tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. Yeah, do me a thing, do me a favor. Call me exactly at noon.
Okay.
Okay. I called you at 8:30, I think, but then it was too late, I guess, for you.
Yeah, I was just getting my dinner done and then getting ready for the class.
Okay, no, never mind. We can talk tomorrow.
Sorry about that. Okay, so I'll give you a call tomorrow noon.
Okay, sir. Okay. Somebody else had a question? Nope. Okay. Okay then. I'll see you again tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah. Good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Good night, Chetan.
Good night.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Good night,
Bye.
all.
Good night.